let's say you weren't making the amount of money that you wanted to make at that time, or you were not living the mission you're living right now, how would you get to a point where you were waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning when the shit was not going your way? You know, like, how did you do that?
That's all the more reason you get up at 4 a.m. because you have a purpose. And once you find your purpose in life, once you know what you're willing to die for, then you start to live for it, right?
So what was your purpose back then? Like when you first started going after it?
First company I started was InfoSpace. And the simple was, there is going to be one day when people are going to actually want information on their phones. There were no phones that could do that, none. I built a company believing one day that is going to exist, and can you start to build the infrastructure, services, and technology to actually do that? 7 years before the iPhones came out, I'm on record and Washington Post, woman named Leslie Walker. I said, one day we're going to have a phone where you're going to get your email, contact, your stock quotes, your weather. You'll be able to drive by Starbucks. It will know where you are, and it will give you a coupon for Starbucks. And you will be using a phone to make a payment rather than your credit card. And this is, so you can go Google and find out. So just if you were to Google, you will see. She said, what world do you live in? That is not going to happen, right? Not in our lifetime. Now imagine, 7 years later, that was 2000.
She's not a billionaire.
7 years later, when iPhone came out, it became real. Even so, the trick is, it wasn't that I had a crystal ball that I was thinking. To me, it was so obvious. And people call that distorted view of reality. So people say Steve Jobs had a distorted view of reality. It is not. He has a clear vision, because once you have the clarity of thoughts, you are able to describe the world in very clear terms what you see. And that's called vision. Vision means you can visualize. And if you can visualize, you can describe. And everyone who can't visualize, what do they see? Hallucination. What distorted world do you see? I don't see that, right? So imagine, just between you and I, if you're sitting next to each other and we both are humans, and somehow I develop the capabilities in my brain or cognitively to hear a different wavelength of sound, right? I tell Nick, hey Nick, do you hear the Taylor Swift playing? And you're saying, are you cuckoo or something? There's no Taylor Swift here playing. And you put a radio and you can hear it. Where did it come from? It is already here. You just weren't tuned to it because the human ears cannot actually hear the wavelength of sound unless in the certain wavelength. So just because you have a extraordinary ability to hear a different wavelength, see a different wavelength, think differently, it's not distorted view. It is the real world that others can't see.